The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go! Hey, welcome to our show in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Earth, Milky Way galaxy, solar system.
You know, we're very specific with how Torontonians are supposed to refer to Toronto, and it's by basically pronouncing it completely wrong. It's supposed to be like Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Calling it Toronto is a sin. Calling it Toronto, Ontario. Which other Toronto, friend? Well, there's a Toronto one. Yes, it is smaller. What are you talking about? Toronto, Ontario.
Guys, Toronto, Ontario. Welcome to Toronto, Ontario.
You know what I would do if I had millions of dollars is wake up at the crack of dawn and own myself online.
Mm.
That is 100% what I would do.
Do you want to explain what you're talking about?
No, we can talk about that later.
All right.
I thought we were going to. Also, who listening to the show
wouldn't know?
Not know.
It has been
like I am confused.
You guys would be surprised.
Yeah. So there's a tweet by Logan Couture that we're gonna get to, which is part of the inside joke. But you know what? We're gonna hold off on that for now. We're gonna actually talk about a couple things that are a little bit more important. Yep. The first thing, lesser important of the two, but directly affects the Steve Dangle podcast community. I want to shout out Katie, a.k.a. Dame of Scones. If you remember a while back with the Evan Scott Huber situation, where he was harassing women online, he had also potentially there was some money that he had raised for some projects he was working on that had not been returned to people. And Katie, much like we did, because she believed in him, thought he was a good guy, all of those things that we discussed at the time, tried to help him in those fundraising efforts. But Katie did the noble and amazing thing of going back and getting everybody their refunds. Wow. So Katie has gotten everybody their damn refunds. So I just want to shout out Katie and a little bit of good news at Dame of Scones. Also, by the way, I'm sorry that I wasn't following you before, Katie, because you're a great follow. So thank you.
Piece of crap, Adam.
I know. What a shitty guy, but that's just me. Unfortunately, we got to do this again. And because we're here again.
Yep.
Jacob Blake. That's a name you should know. You should know his name. The name that you ought to know is the name of the person that shot him 7 times. Or the names of those who shot him 7 times. The problem is that we don't. Or at least there's reports now that we might. But until this point, we didn't. It has set off massive protests again and has created the same situation that we've been talking about all summer, but really, frankly, it's been going on for 400 years. This is another reason why, and we talked about this with Masai just last week, Masai Ujiri, that is president of the Raptors. Another reason why the protests are happening, another reason why these conversations need to be had, another reason why people are saying, hey, this is happening. And it's funny because the voices who are saying, no, it's not, are getting quieter and quieter and quieter. They're still loud, but you're starting to see people just go, I don't have anything to say. Fatigue. And that's because there's no comeback. There is nothing to say. Really, logically, there isn't. And what's happened here is the same. Do I need to tell you the details of the story? Do you need to see the video to know that
I think
this
people
is a guy
have seen the story and they've seen the video?
Yeah.
How could you not?
Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Joseph.
I was just going to say, just to echo your point, Adam, we've come to the realization, the majority of people, that there's not much defense for what's going on when we have the video evidence, and that an interaction with police shouldn't result in 7 shots in your back if you're resisting arrest and you don't have a weapon and you're walking away. There's
7 of you.
That's not the end result of how 2 humans should react. One shouldn't react with a lethal weapon in your back. And there's not much defense for that. How can you say that that's the correct reaction to somebody walking away from you?
Jesse, but what about the protesters? What about them? What about them? It's what everyone's question is today, or at least that I've seen. What about them? What were they doing last night? that resulted in 2 of them getting shot to death?
Right.
What were they doing that resulted in one is also still in hospital? Sounds like they're going to pull through. Because it's something. It's always something.
I did find it funny.
No, I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm very not done.
Please continue.
I'm very not done. Those Adam, listen, they got shot and killed, but let me tell you, there was a good reason, and it was something. And with Jacob Blake, it was something. And with George Floyd, it was something. Breonna Taylor, it was something. Philando Castile, it was something. Tamir Rice, it was something. Trayvon Martin, it was something. If it's you, if it's your brothers or sisters, your mom or dad, your aunt or uncles, your cousins, your friends at work, your classmates, anyone you admire, any stranger on the street, I promise you, when it happens to them, it'll be something. They always have something to say. There's always a reason. It's always a great reason to take a life. When's it going to be enough? When are they going to stop? It's always something. Masai Ujiri, it's a less serious example, wasn't shot and killed. There's video that came out, and we talked about this. Done. Look at the video. They're lying. And after the video came out, they stood by their lie because people defended it. Well, his thing wasn't fully. It's always something. It's always going to be something. You don't listen to anybody, they get fed up. Adam?
I did find it funny that, no, I didn't find it funny, but I do find it peculiar that a man can walk down the street with an assault rifle and be called a member of the militia.
A 17-year-old man from a state over named Kyle Rittenhouse can walk down the street with an AR-15 and shoot 2 people in the head.
And that's part of, but he's a member of the militia. Don't forget. Which originally
hand signals like it's fucking Call of Duty, like it's
right.
a game to him.
Originally, militia was a term that was, a protection term. It was a term of, if your community was under threat, you call it the militia. It was a term of, it's an honorable position. It's an honorable sacrifice to make because a lot of people, frankly, didn't want to do it. Now we've gone and taken that term and turned it into, we are the militia that need to come in and control protests. We are the militia that need to come in and threaten people. We are the people that it's a shocking thing for me because when you look at the history of what that is, right? That's what matters to me, right? I'm a history guy. When you look at the history of what the situations militia were put into and what they served, these people took this seriously and they took it as a matter of honor. And as soon as they could drop their weapons, they did. They wanted to not be militia. The point of militia is we chose not to be soldiers, but we have to right now.
These guys can't wait.
And these guys can't wait. And so when the news frames it as this is a member of the militia, I take that as a tremendous insult. This man is not a representative of any militia. He's a representative of a group that chooses to. If it's a one-man group, it's his group. I don't know if he was encouraged by the people he is in this quote-unquote militia with. But if he is in this group on his own, which I highly doubt, but I don't know, then he's part of a group that intends to terrorize people.
He's a racist
incites terrorism, incites terror, which is terrorism. It's supposed to scare people. We can go on at length about this, but at this point, it's the when you've got and this is a terrible example, but there are movies that follow a formula. There are songs that follow a formula, and those formulas work every single time. They always make the radio. They always make the theaters, right? There's those movies you're like, I know how this is going to end. It's like a bad action movie, bad romantic comedy, bad whatever.
Yeah, and in university, you learn about the story arc, and you learn on the 5 arc that all stories are built on.
And isn't it funny that I don't need to tell you the details about Jacob Blake? I don't need to tell you the specifics for you to know basically what happened. The story arc's the same. It's the same. Now, you should do your research. You should know his name. But the story arc remains exactly the same. It's the same outcome. It's the same beginning, middle, and end. There's a few details that change, few character names that change, maybe some different faces, but we're pretty much looking at the same movie here, are we not?
Exact same.
So we will continue to harp on this. I want to shout out the Raptors who are even considering, along with other NBA teams, boycotting games. Just saying we're not going to play anymore. You know, the whole point was to come back and to bring a spotlight to, that is, social issues that are affecting especially colored communities in North America. But for them to look at this and go, this isn't changing anything. And the problem is that really, even if they boycott games, if local governments refuse to do anything about this, nothing changes. It really is like, I mean, and I think it would be momentous and frankly, a hell of a sacrifice for all these professional athletes that have worked their entire lives and may only get 1 or 2 shots at a championship to say, no, we're not playing. That's huge. But I don't know in this climate what it takes to get people to change the way they are looking at things. We are clearly at a crossroads here where we can look at things like policing, things like investing in communities in a different way. You know, when people say defund the police, they don't mean literally erase the police. They don't mean that. What they mean is take money, take that a gigantic budget and invest it in communities so that people can be uplifted. You know, if you look at a police budget versus every other budget, police budget's the biggest. Why don't you take from that, invest in some communities that have literal 0 to nothing and see what happens. See what the long-term effects of that are. Quit cutting education. Quit cutting after-school programs. Quit cutting community programs. Upgrade your community centers. Create some damn sports and some pools and some music. Stop taking instruments out of the classroom. These are the things that if we want to move forward, it's going to take more than athletes protesting. It's going to take more than protesters protesting. It's going to take voting and people getting in there and actually having the balls to change some things. And it's unfortunate, but I mean, really, the protests hit fever pitch the last time, mid-July. What real change has there been? Other than Minneapolis getting rid of their police department and changing what they're going to do. What's happened? What's changed?
And I think that's what the Raptors were feeling today. And I think they echoed everyone's sentiments, is that we can make these T-shirts, we can go to protests, we can speak out, we can do everything. But if nothing happens, then what's the point? Then how do we escalate this until something actually happens? And then that's all we're waiting for, is just some sort of change.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a tough time, guys. This is not an easy, thing or a comfortable thing to sit through. If Jesse and Steve and I had our druthers, we'd be talking about the Kapanen trade and what happened to the Coyotes today. Instead, we're leading with this because this happened.
I was so excited. The Coyote stuff broke 2 minutes before the show started. I don't even know what the news is yet. I was so excited to talk about it. We can't do it, guys.
The three of us combined, we do so much reading on like a weekly basis just so we know what we're talking about on our shows, and Steve for the YouTube channel and Adam for the radio. And just today, man, just before this, it got me down just because I couldn't not know everything about the situation, and just reading that and just looking at everything that's going on, it can't not keep you down. And that's compounded on everything else that's happened in 2020. And then that throws on the last 400 years of civilization in America. Mm-hmm. So yeah, to say it's been tough is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't imagine what it's like to live it.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the point, right? You want to be an ally. You want to be a part of the change here, the good stuff here. I don't think anybody, whatever your political persuasion, whatever your opinions, I don't think anybody can rightfully say, no, it should definitely be the white people that live better. Everybody could probably agree that we want equality. Everybody could probably agree that makes a lot of sense, right? Unless you're an absolute wingnut. Like you're a lunatic, you're not worth listening to anyway. Yeah, most people can agree to that.
It's not ridiculous to say that discrimination is bad and no one should be treated differently based on their race.
And it's not ridiculous to admit that it exists.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, it's crazy to me. That's the part that drives me crazy. And the reason that we're not moving forward here is people, frankly, are scared. The people in charge of these positions are afraid of losing their jobs. Well, they're going to lose them. If you're in this position, you're going to lose your job eventually if you don't make a change. That's what happens. And it's time. It's time we get into the modern world here a little bit and look at how we change things. The whole thing about, it's funny, because the RNC was on last night and stuff, and you hear a lot about, and I'm not trying to get political, but you hear a lot about the economy. Well, we make the economy work. Most governments at this point have a pretty good idea of how to make an economy work. What we're trying to get to is a point where society works, and society works for everyone. And so if you boil it down to the economy, that's like saying he's a really good skater, but he can't shoot for shit. He can't take a pass. He has no hockey IQ. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing. It's one cog in many, many, many cogs. And I am, I know why these things are happening. I know, that's a very complicated, nuanced concept for a lot of people, and that's fair. But I do find it extremely frustrating that we're sitting here again talking about the exact same damn thing when it's all that has to happen is for people to go, yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be treated the same. And why don't we look at the reasons why we're not? You don't need a political party for that. You don't. And I just, beyond that, I'll shut up. But it's just again and again and again. And by the way, when this shit happens, you can expect that we're going to be talking about it. And we will repeat this until we're blue in the face. I don't care if it's the remainder of the 30 or 40 years we have ahead of us on this show. I don't care. This has got to change. It's got to end. And it's got to end in Canada and the United States. And if you think that it doesn't happen in Canada, ask the Native communities in the North how they feel about it. Or the colored communities in the inner cities. See how they feel about it. It affects all of us here. It's a unique thing to North American life. And it might be the same in Europe. I don't know. That's not really where my concern is. My concern is here. This is where we are. And just because Canada's a little different from the United States doesn't mean that it doesn't apply here. And I think that we have got to take a really good look. And we have the chance as Canadians to be a little bit more in the forefront of what this could look like and set an example for the entire world. And I hope we take that opportunity.
Well said.
Well said. Yeah, and just to add on to a couple of things, like the Premier of Ontario spent the early half of 2020 trying to defund education. Defunding the police isn't a crazy concept. It's just moving budgets. It's not eliminating enforcement of the law. It's just transferring money. And that's something that happens literally all the time in government. That's really all we're asking for. And, murder is probably it is the most heinous crime you can commit as a human. And Black people are being murdered on camera consistently by police officers every couple of months. And it's still not enacting change. So I right now it's real difficult to see an end road here because it can't get worse than this. I don't know. So, but if people will keep fighting, like it's not gonna stop, and hopefully something comes about.
It's gonna come slow, but it's gonna come. It's gonna come. Have we said what we need to say on that?
Yeah.
Steve, Jesse, do you feel like you've said what you needed to say?
Yeah, well, we won't stop saying it for sure.
Agreed. Steve,
Adam,
it's time for us to do the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes cereal celly of the past. I want you to be Jacob Marley. And I want you to go back into the past from the Christmas story. Where the guy comes in and he's a ghost of Christmas past. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Cellies of playoffs past.
What?
Jacob Marley said, "There's no place like home. There's no place like home."
Or is it
Get
Robert
to
Marley?
the car, Marty.
I'm used to watching the Muppet version of that. So there's a Jacob and Robert Marley, and then there's I think there's only one in the original Christmas movie.
We're Marley and Marley.
I used to get
What a
terrified with that.
great celly!
Terrified when that.
You've seen it too? Oh, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful,
All right,
Tone.
So give
When
us.
it's game time, don't flake on the Frosted.
That was good. That's a good. We needed to get that in, Adam. People need to know. They need to know.
Steven, what celebration of joy are we going back to?
Well, it is a celebration of joy, but I'm a little sad.
Uh-oh.
Because it's of a time gone by. A time gone by. We're going to go all the way back to the year 2017.
No.
We're going to go to Washington, D.C.
Oh, I know what he's doing. Don't do this.
I think it might have even been the Dark Guy game. Kapanen slaps it home. You know it.
Slapping in, Kapanen.
I'm not going to say it.
Goal slapping in.
Yeah, goal slapping in. The Leafs
Stick
fourth
slapping
line.
in.
Yeah. The Leafs fourth line and maybe even third pair, because I remember, wasn't it like Connor Carrick on the dump in?
Mm-hmm.
You got Brian Boyle out there, Matt Martin working in the corners. They're digging. And John Carlson doesn't have a stick because he's a silly goose. You're supposed to have one of those when you play hockey. And the Caps are they're kerfuffled. There's a kerfuffle going on. Second overtime. Everyone's a little confused, but the fourth line, they're just ravenous. They have this energy. Kapanen's already going because he scored earlier in that game. And in double overtime, Brian Boyle behind the net throws it in front for a young rookie wearing number 28 for some reason, Kasperi Kapanen, who slaps it home, as Joe Bowen so nicely put it. And in that moment, the President's Trophy winning Washington Capitals felt a very human chill crawl up their spine as the Toronto Maple Leafs tied the series at 1 going back to Toronto. So for all his warts.
Toronto, Ontario.
Toronto, Ontario, yes.
Canada.
Absolutely. I don't know why. Yep. Kasperi Kapanen, for all his warts and for the fact that he is on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I hate to say it, bad now. It's a joke. It's a joke, you see, because he's on another team. Kasperi Kapanen scored some big goals for the Leafs. His first goal was in that game against Pittsburgh to help get them in the playoffs, the McElhinney save game. He scored earlier in the double overtime game, then he scored in double overtime. He deked the pants off of Brad Marchand in Game 7 in 2018. The Leafs went and ruined that. Kasperi Kapanen has scored some fantastic goals for the Leafs, including a couple regular season overtime winners that I can remember, but none were better. No celly was better than double overtime 2017 against the Caps. So to Kasperi Kapanen, slapping it home, that is my serial celly of the week.
Steve's great.
Couple things.
I know.
I want to shout out a great tweet. Ailish Forfar, who writes for NHL.com for the Leafs, said Bags Pakinen. She tweeted, and I was like, that was good. That's good. Come on, that's good, right?
That's pretty good. I said Kasperi trade again. That was my video.
Nope.
Ooh. Oh, that's a tough reaction. Damn.
You know what? It's a tough show for you, I think. It's just
when you say that after Bags Pakinen, it just doesn't land.
There's the level, and then there's
If you're gonna say another one, you got to top the previous one.
Right.
And you didn't do that.
So obviously Logan Couture sent out a tweet this morning. It was right at the crack of dawn too, which was really interesting.
Don't lob grenades from bed.
Can I read it?
My advice: do not lob grenades from bed. You can't run.
I was just trying to pull it up there, buddy. So
I got them all here if you want.
That would be great. Please go
all
ahead.
Right. At 7:45 a.m. on August 26th, Logan Couture, center for the San Jose Sharks, said,
Captain,
said, I spent last night in Toronto, Ontario. I talked about voting for the Republican Party, and I mentioned Donald Trump by name. I was sucker punched. Is this really what we are coming to? If you vote, are you a villain? man, this world is so wrong.
Well,
if you vote, you're a villain. My goodness. Well,
yeah.
I mean, he does bring up a very interesting point.
There's like 5 straw men in that argument, in that entire tweet. Like, it's just so many all over the place.
Do you want me to read some of his follow-up replies?
Please do. Yeah. So, and give context too, because he's replying to other people. So we should probably hear their tweets as well.
This was a reply to somebody that said it was fabricated. He said, you don't have to believe any word I say for the rest of my life, but that's the honest truth.
Mm-hmm.
This was another reply. He said, craziest part is I don't vote. I mentioned my father being a former police officer. I really don't believe this is the world we live in.
And by the way, a lot of people were like, wait, no, his dad was a firefighter. So that was a little confusing.
Yeah, and I assume he's eligible to vote in America.
Steve, could it be possible that he arrests fires?
I mean, someone's got to.
Taking you in, crackling fire.
And then he also...
That's definitely like a Family Guy cutaway weed bit. You're coming with me. I got burned again.
Someone asked him what the point of the tweet was, and he said, saying my dad was a police officer and I would if I could vote Republican, which didn't answer the tweet, but that's what he wanted to throw in as well.
Incoherent.
You know why? Because
the
problem is that he's an immigrant down there, so he can't vote. No, so that they wouldn't want him voting.
But wouldn't he be? He's been in San Jose a very long time. Like, he's not a resident.
Yeah. Well, he might be a resident, but you got to be a citizen.
He might be. We don't know.
He might be a citizen. He was drafted in 2008.
I know, but he said he can't, so I'm assuming that he's not.
Right.
If he was a citizen, he would vote.
I guess you're right.
Unless his firefighting policeman dad, maybe he's convoluted the two as well, where he has citizenship but he can't vote.
Listen, Adam, I'm just trying to make sense of all this.
I took my oath, but I said to them, I will never vote. I promise you, please don't let me vote. And they said, okay, here's your passport, sir.
Because he did say, if I would vote Republican, if I could.
Okay, well then.
I assume.
Yeah.
And he was punched in the face for it.
Now, listen, right. And I'm serious about what I'm about to say here. Are there some holes in this already? Potentially. But we can't get on, Twitter or our particular medium here on the podcast and victim blame and victim shame if we're going to preach not to do that. You want to believe people? Take them at their word. Do I believe that Logan Couture was punched last night? Yeah, I think it's believable for sure.
I do.
Now, what I would suggest to him, and my point on this is very, very short. File the police report. You seem to be well acquainted. You'd obviously know how the process goes. File the police report. Now, if you don't file the police report, that says something too. Because you like that don't want to file a police report.
Oh, Adam, could you repeat your last sentence? You froze.
The FBI ruined the stream for a minute.
Yeah, Logan Couture is on to you.
Oh, wow. They really don't want him to. Are you seeing this?
Oh,
Are you seeing this?
Oh, no.
Get out of our stream! Get out of our stream!
Hang on.
What are you? Are you there? Okay, the officer left.
Okay.
I'm here.
The Republican Party is on to us.
Adam, you're safe.
Oh no. Okay. So usually, did you hear the part where I said file the police report?
Yes.
You froze around there. Yeah.
Okay. So he's obviously, if his dad's a cop, he's obviously well aware of how it works. Or if he's not, he can call his dad. How do I file a police report? You file the police report.
His dad is a firefighter.
Firefighter. Yeah. But also a policeman. And so what I would say is file the police report. And a lot of people in situations like this don't want to. Now, there are many reasons for that. I don't want to speculate too much, but oftentimes people don't want to file police reports because they should not either. So,
I mean, I'll just say sometimes he's a hockey player. Maybe getting punched in the face isn't that serious. I've been punched in the face. I didn't have to file a police report.
He should absolutely be able to say he's voting for Trump if he was in the States.
Yeah.
And that he's a Republican, and absolutely should be able to say that. It's wrong that he got punched for it.
He was assaulted.
But the thing to do is not to tweet it it's to file the police report and not randomly go after people on Twitter. I don't think it's fair. And this is a hard stance to take because, believe me, there's lots of things that I would like to say here, but I'm going to restrain because I feel like I have said, if we're going to take a step forward here, we need to take victims at their word and then investigate. So I think we take the victim at his word and we investigate, but you must file the police report.
I'll take a stunning take after last show. He should have called his agent first before tweeting all that stuff. He should have. Is this a good idea? It's like you said, Adam, it's his job to represent you and let you know if that is a good idea. Did you come away with his experience from Twitter this morning with the notion that that little thread was a good idea?
Well, no, and that's where my main criticism comes in, because I'm not going to criticize the tweet or what he says happened. I'm going to criticize specifically, and I'm biased here, I'll just straight up admit it, him going after Tara Sloan from Sportsnet. Now, somebody that follows us, Leah Kessel at Leah Flame, tweeted something back at him because obviously you remember Logan Couture was one of the first NHLers to speak out to back up guys like Akim Aliu and Evander Kane.
His
teammate. And he put out a statement. He wanted everybody not to be offended. But he did say that he put his support behind what those guys were saying. I thought that was great. Commended it at the time. It was nice to see someone speak up. But there was a Jesse, do you have the tweet in front of
you? Which one?
Leah's
tweet.
Yeah. Do you have that one with the screenshots?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you read out what happened? What tweets she screenshotted?
So she said, "This you?" ? At Logan Couture. And it was a screenshot of Logan Couture saying, "My thoughts. Sorry if this offends anyone. All love."
And that gets into the statement about how he supports Black Lives Matter and his teammates.
He said, "Don't know how populars write this. Evander Kane is speaking the truth. Racism exists in society." And he goes on to support Akim Aliu and Evander Kane in that. So she screenshotted those two things and said, "This you." And then Logan Couture replied with, "Are you serious, Tara Sloan? I don't vote. I never said I like Donald Trump. I don't. Last time I do anything for Sportsnet."
So that's where it got confusing for me.
Tara liked that tweet.
Right.
Leah's
tweet.
Yes.
Right.
Leah Flame.
And then he saw that she liked that tweet and went after her. Now he said in that tweet, read that one more time. "Are you serious, Tara Sloan?" What did he say after that?
"I don't vote. I never said I like Donald Trump. I don't. Last time I do anything for Sportsnet."
So there's a couple of things at play here. Did you not just say that you like Donald Trump and that you would vote Republican?
Do you want me to read the original tweet again?
Please read the original tweet.
"I spent last night in Toronto, Ontario. I talked about voting for the Republican Party, and I mentioned Donald Trump by name. I was sucker punched. Is this really what we were coming to? If you vote, you're a villain. Man, this is so wrong."
So wait, so you got sucker punched for talking about the Republican Party and mentioning Donald Trump by name, but you don't like him, which is fine, fair. So who did you get sucker punched by is a question that I think is a fair question. What is the context is a question I think is a fair question. And beyond that, and most importantly, you're upset that people with different opinions than you react negatively to your opinions. And Tara Sloan, who has a different opinion than you, reacted very little. And you had this outside reaction and said, "I'm taking my stuff and I'm never bringing it over to Sportsnet's house to play."
Well, because the conversation fractured.
Right.
It fractured from getting punched in the face. You shouldn't do that to people.
Yeah, which is fair.
I don't vote or support this guy, but support him. But
he's not. He didn't even say he supported him, really, did he? He just mentioned him by name, and that was enough to get punched somehow.
What I messaged to you guys when we were going down the topics we wanted to discuss on today's show I was saying I don't know what to do with the Logan Couture story because the whole thread is barely English.
It is. Yeah, and I think that's the criticism here. And my main criticism for him is Tara Slone. Tara Slone can like whatever the hell she wants, man. Yeah. And you're gonna not do anything for Sportsnet. I'm sorry, I don't know what you do for Sportsnet that's garnering them any ratings other than you playing hockey. So you will be doing that. They own the rights.
Probably.
So you will be playing hockey, and it will be broadcast on Sportsnet. So that part.
Logan Couture games will only be broadcast on TSN.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Sharks games from here on out are now TSN property.
Because Logan said so.
Logan said so.
And so, and then if it's you yelling, "Hey Sportsnet," in the promo, like, "Hey Sportsnet, it's on Sportsnet," they'll live, man.
Yeah. Adam watches Rogers.
Of course they do. They own the hockey rights.
I know.
I worked there. The point I'm trying to make is there's no loss here. Hockey player interviews are boring most of the time, and they don't garner great ratings anyway.
I just want to say this is Bell's Adam Wilde.
Yeah,
saying
no, they are boring. They are boring. They're boring.
It is on my it's on my podcast, but it is not me talking.
Go look at Matthews Tavares.
Adam Wilde, who's saying all this.
Look at Matthews Tavares. It's like a couple of just 12-year-olds.
Now you're just bringing random names into it. This is Bell employee Adam Wilde. And
the thing is you go after Tara because she has a different opinion than you. After being upset that people with different opinions than you, or would sucker punch you in the face. This is the issue. If you're trying to say, what is this world coming to? Someone who disagrees with me reacting negatively. And that's wrong. And then you go out and you do the same thing, and you don't have the self-awareness to recognize that. And so part of me is like, are we drunk tweeting? Part of me wonders that. I think it's fair. I don't know if that's a fair question, but part of me wonders that. And the other thing is, if we aren't, what's going on, man? Why Tara Slone, who's nothing but kind to anyone? I've worked with Tara Slone many times.
He doesn't know Tara Slone's opinions.
No.
All she did was like a tweet on Twitter. Is she not allowed to like tweets? Like,
well, not if you want Logan in your promo.
Right.
Be Logan Couture. B- hockey celebrity Logan Couture.
Okay, we need to.
Oh, sorry, C+.
Okay, first of all, I went to high school with you. You don't get to make fun of people for bad grades. All right?
Hey, I had a C+.
That's the both of us. I would have killed for a C+ in most things. Right, Adam?
I just don't like it's sort of like, and if you're going through a tough time, if Logan Couture is going through a tough time and this turns out to be something like that, my heart goes out to him. Truly. It seems like whatever's behind these tweets ain't good. Might be going through a tough time personally, don't know. All I can go off of what I know is what I know right now, and what I know is this does not look good. And it has nothing to do with the original tweet. We've already addressed that. If you were sucker punched, you need to file a police report. They need to conduct an investigation.
Adam's getting real deep with it. I'm going to say I read it. I was confused by it. I was concerned for Logan Couture.
Yeah.
Because I don't get it. I don't get it. What was going on? Because that thread was a trident, and it just went in all kinds of directions, and I was very confused.
Right.
It's like, you ever see a tree after it gets struck by lightning?
Yeah,
that's what it looked like.
And his whole stream of tweets lasted over like a couple hours. Like the first one started at like 7:45, and they still tweeted up until like 10 a.m. So I don't understand what's going on there. Like,
well,
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, and I just want to, I'll wrap the conversation at least on my end by saying this, guys. My hope is that the tweet that Logan Couture sent in July supporting Evander Kane and Akeem Aliu is the Logan Couture that is in a better frame of mind. That's the Logan Couture that we would know, or that we would expect to know. Everybody goes through tough times. Everybody has their moments. Everybody has moments where they're shitty. I certainly have had mine on Twitter. I just don't have the following he does, or the platform he does,
or the money.
Or the money. But I've been
or the talent.
I've been shitty to people. People have been shitty to me.
Or the good looks.
Or the good fucking looks. Jesus, guys! Wow,
I'm probably got abs.
I'm gonna crawl under my table and cry here. My point is, I hope the Logan Couture from the first tweet supporting Black Lives Matter is the Logan Couture. And it's not just the support, it's the empathy that I loved about that. There was empathy in what he wrote.
Well, and we were saying, like, he at the time was like one of the most high-profile NHL players to speak out. But
yes,
certainly one of the most high-profile white ones.
Yes, 100%. So my hope is that's the Logan Couture we know. This Logan Couture seems there's something funny in the water on this one, and I hope that everything's okay because there's something off here. Really,
you won't hear me say this often, but this seems like a scenario where it's an agent's time to shine.
Yeah. It was funny, actually, speaking of agents, getting the fallout from the Marc-Andre Fleury thing, because we got, I don't know how you guys got, but my DMs were either, holy shit, you nailed it, or you don't know this guy, and his agent's just acting on his own. And it's just funny how polarizing that was. It was very funny. It's not funny like it's really fine. I'm fine. I'm really happy about it. But it is interesting how a situation like that can bring out the absolute, opposite side. Listen, I don't need you to tell me I was right. I am right. That's how an agent works. I have one. I can tell you that's how an agent works. They're there to take your shit. That's what you pay them for. Marc-Andre Fleury, good guy, good teammate, Stanley Cup winner, pulled a shitty diva move. It happens.
You know what's funny?
What?
Adam's the only one who gets terrible DMs on
Oh
the
my
show
God, it's friggin' ridiculous.
Steve's DMs are closed, and my DMs are always just like, hey, love the point you made, or hey, love the podcast.
Funny meme,
awesome.
Jesse.
Great
meme. Really great Photoshop.
And then Adam's DMs are, fuck you, shut up.
Well, they pick on Adam. You ever see that road rage video where this guy pulls up next to a car and he just starts screaming at him, and for no good reason he starts screaming at the guy in the back seat because they all have the windows down. He calls him fat and drives off, and then the cameraman, just like with Spielberg like camera work, just goes to the guy in the back seat and he's like, why'd I get picked on? That's Adam. Why'd Adam get picked on? I don't get it.
Now, I want to address a situation. It's not news per se, but we're going to get to it right now. We're going to start with something.
This is a heavy-ass show. I want to talk about Kapanen. Come on.
This is a heavy show. Well, I bet you do, but this is heavy.
The FBI doesn't want us to talk about this. You good?
No, I'm good. Okay, the reason that it seemed it was a very heavy day yesterday as well, when we found out through David Pagnotta of the fourth period that Jack Johnson was on his way to Toronto in the Kasperi Kapanen trade. This could have been the end of Leafs Nation as we know it. There was a collective meltdown. The tweet was taken down, I believe. Yeah. And it turned out Jack Johnson was not on his way to Toronto for Kasperi Kapanen.
Can I tell you, I was texting people and I was like, this is it. This is it. I'll have to find something else to do next season. I can't do it. I can't do it. How do you expect me to do it with Jack Johnson as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs? After surviving this past season, I can't do it. I'll have to find something else to do. That was my first thought. My first thought was just, oh my God, here we go again. Here we go again, and for the last time. Because I won't do it again. I don't want him on my damn team, Adam. I don't want him on my team, Jesse. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. You want Jack Johnson at the Leafs?
Jesse, do you have the trade?
No, you don't.
Do you have the trade in front of you by chance?
I do.
Okay. Can you tell us who left Toronto and who is showing up in Toronto?
Can I talk about David Pagnotta for just a quick second?
Yeah, sure, man.
Go ahead.
David, we had a nice conversation when we met. Do you remember where we met?
All-Star game, I'm assuming, right?
No. It was at a fashion event. I don't remember the name of the company.
Was it the sweaty Philly draft where you were sweaty?
No. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. It was at a fashion event in Toronto. Now, Adam, what's your first thought when I tell you that?
I'm not surprised. He's a pretty fashionable guy.
What about me?
Well, you've been wearing the same shoes for a year and a half.
Exactly.
These beat up shitty Adidas that he wears even made it into his commercial on Sportsnet. Like Jesse took a screen grab and put it in the group. He's like, you put those shitty Adidas on for a Canadian Tire spot that runs nationally with Gary.
They could have told me not to wear them. They didn't.
Should have got new shoes for Gary.
No one told me.
Okay, next time you're watching Sportsnet, look out for Steve's shoes. You'll see them.
Do not do that.
Shitty, beat-up shoes. I had the exact same shoes 2 years ago, and Steve and I used to look at each other and go, oh, it's pretty cool that we got the same shoes. Mine looked better than that when I got rid of them.
I forgot about that. Steve has left, by the way. Anybody listening, Steve left the Zoom call because he's fed up with us.
So I'm sure that David Pagnotta has met your shoes as well.
I just thought I would, while you were riffing on me, I just thought I would actually grab the magazine.
Okay.
This is where I met you, Dave.
Oh, with the Eric Carlson thing.
I met you at an RW & Co. event. The only reason I went to this thing is that you tweeted that he would be there. All right? And this is when there were all these rumors that he was going to get traded out of Ottawa any day now. And so I showed up. I brought a camera and everything. And I get there, and he wasn't taking hockey questions.
I remember that. Because you were going to bring the interview to my house afterwards. I think we were going to do a show, were we not?
Yeah!
Or something like that, yeah. Anyway.
I was going to be on the scene. I was going to get the exclusive. I was going to ask him some stuff. And the guy was answering questions about dress pants and shoes. And then you go tweeting about Jack Johnson potentially going to the Leafs. And then you said I should have left it in drafts. It's not the only one, Dave. Knock that shit off. Jesse, what was the trade?
Hey man, listen. People are allowed to get shit wrong.
Get shit wrong? That guy catfished me into going to a suit event. And all I got out of it was a gift certificate and a signed Eric Carlson magazine. I'm a grown man. I can't pay for shit with that.
We're going to have to bring David on to address this situation because forget the Jack Johnson thing, which gave us all a heart attack, David. We need you to address which shoes Steve was wearing that night and how you could do this to him.
Probably the same ones. They're durable.
They're not. They're $100 Adidas.
And you paid that much?
No, I got them at an outlet mall. Anyway, Jesse, give us the trade between Pittsburgh and Toronto.
All right.
It's not cute.
Toronto,
Dave.
Ontario, Canada, North America, Earth, Milky Way galaxy, solar system.
Thank you. Thank you for identifying.
Universe.
Thank you.
Realm.
Toronto receives a 2020 first-round pick, 15th overall. Philip Hollander, Evan Rodriguez. I don't know how to say David's last name. Steve Warsofsky.
Yep.
Pittsburgh receives Kasperi Kapanen, Jesper Lindgren, and Pontus Aberg. That's the trade.
Pontus.
That's it.
It's not
That's
bad.
the trade. Not bad at all. Now
Not bad at all, Mr. Dubas.
Guys, ask me what I'm doing right now. What am I doing?
You're racing to get to a fashion event because you heard someone important would be there to answer questions.
No, I'm reading the comments from the Pittsburgh Penguins Instagram page when the trade was announced. You ready? So, oftentimes, usually, each team's fan base feels like they won the trade. And usually trades are great. It benefits your franchise. So you instantly think, well, hey, if it's a good trade, I feel like we won this. But people in Ottawa felt like they won the Zaitsev trade because they got rid of CC. We felt like we got rid of Zaitsev and that stupid contract. So we felt like we won.
Right? We were both right and wrong.
We were both. It was stop. You're both just terrible. And
said John Mulaney. Yeah, you're both terrible cereals.
So this is a unique trade because Penguins fans tend to agree with Leaf fans. From a guy named Matt. Shouldn't have got rid of that 15th overall selection. From Penn's Memes. Fire Rutherford. The first is too valuable. Fire Rutherford quickly before he gives up our other picks. From Dickers91. Might be time to GM change. You can improve the present without giving up the future. Hollander and a 15th overall pick is ridiculous. From Dano Forselke. GM JR should just retire for everyone's sake. Aiden, who in God's name approved this?
I assume the GM.
Sorry.
What's next, Adam? Hit me. Because I got one too when you're ready.
GM JR must have forgot his meds this morning. You know, that's not, I mean, Kapanen and Lindgren are nice, but I'm kind of disappointed that we had to give up a first-round pick. Fire Jim Rutherford. Fire Jim Rutherford. We got fleeced. Fire Jim Rutherford. Rutherford is out to lunch. Fire him. Fire him. Please fire him. Massive L. And these are all from people with, like, Penguins logos.
All right.
Penguins for life. I love.
These are fans. Fans.
So
pissed.
So oh no, where'd it go? Oh crap. I had one up. But basically I was making the video yesterday and I wanted to include a tweet in my video. And this person doesn't follow me, so I'm always wary about including someone's tweet if they don't follow me, just in case they're like, dude, I didn't want to be in that video. But this lovely young woman said, and we gave them Hollander too? GMJR, retire, bitch. And 3 clown emojis. 1 would have been bad enough. 3? This is not very good.
Now, it is an interesting trade because from the Penguins' perspective, you do get Kasperi Kapanen, who was a guy you drafted in 2014 in the first round, late 20s. You feel like you've got him cost controlled. The Penguins will owe him less than what's actually stated on his contract because of signing bonuses. The Leafs front-loaded the deal on purpose. The Penguins will not be a cap team going forward, so this is important too. There's already been rumors that they're going to have to cut salary, so this is one that gives them some certainty. Plus, they're not paying the actual amount that's left on his contract versus, you know how that works.
They got better on paper.
They did, and they get a winger who conceivably could play in the top 6 with Malkin and Crosby. The Leafs, for their part, traded a guy who, and this is, I'm going to quote James Myrtle out of The Athletic here because I think this is a very interesting line.
Incredible article on the trade.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah. Usually you don't get something so deep out of just a simple trade, and it was like, wow, Myrtle, great job.
It was right away. So there's some other stuff in this article I want to get to, but the first part, this is very interesting. He, as in Kyle Dubas, also moved out a player the organization had grown tired of, both on the ice and off. Some teams were initially interested in Kapanen, but decided against the deal after digging a little deeper into some of that. But the Leafs still had plenty of suitors for him much of the year, and given his package of size and speed, that interest was enough that the futures bundle became what it did. So there was a bidding war on Kasperi Kapanen. The Penguins were not the only ones in, and it probably came down to who's giving us a first-round pick. And I bet 2 teams wanted to. 2 or 3 teams probably said, we'll do it. And the Leafs probably said, okay, throw in a prospect. And teams either did or they didn't. And I bet the Leafs took the deal with the highest pick. I bet the Leafs said
the Devils wanted in, but I imagine their pick was too high.
The Devils were willing to do it, according to the article, if it was just for the pick, if it was just a straight swap. But they weren't willing to throw in a prospect as well.
Where are the Devils picking?
I think it's 7th or 8th, isn't it?
No way. There's
4?
no way.
They wouldn't have thrown 4. Must have a second.
They have 3.
Yeah,
there you go.
So they have the Devils, they have the Coyotes, and they have the Canucks. So right now, the Canucks one can't be set in stone because they're still.
But it would be higher than what Pittsburgh's will be.
Yeah. So the Coyotes, I believe, are 18 according to Cap Friendly, and the Canucks appear to be 20.
So the Leafs took the one
15.
That's the highest on the board, which is great. Good for you. Smart move. They also get a guy named Philip Hallander, who has been playing against men for a couple of years in the SHL, Swedish Elite League. Is from what we understand, not a great skater, but a good skater.
Depends who you ask. I saw some debate about that.
So I'm just going off of one of the scouting reports I read, but apparently hockey IQ is great. Attitude is great. He scores a lot in the Swedish Elite League. From what I've understood, they're not convinced he'll score a lot at the NHL level, but that he will be a serviceable player. Maybe, hopefully like a center in your bottom six, which is what the Leafs need. And it'd be great if he could step in this season and do that. That would be awesome. Evan Rodriguez is another guy that is a part of the trade that, if he's qualified, he'll be making $2 million this year. So Kyle Dubas did mention that, listen, we're going to talk to his agent and say, there's an opportunity here for you if you want it. But they're not going to qualify him at $2 million. They don't have the money. And frankly, Evan Rodriguez probably isn't worth that to the Leafs or many teams in this cap world. They're, the guys who are smaller on the totem pole are unfortunately going to get squeezed. And
I talked about in the past, like maybe they should have just paid Brian Boyle. Like I'd said that in years past. This guy ain't Brian Boyle. You know what I mean? If you're going to pay that money, it better be a for sure guy. And Rodriguez, Dom Lucian was saying like his stats were terrible this year, but in the past, his model has actually really liked this player.
Okay.
But it's not enough of a guy to commit that kind of money to play like fourth line minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Now, Kyle Dubas did go on to say in some of his interviews yesterday that he'd be willing to move this first round pick if he needs to. But what this does for the Leafs is, at very least, we know they're not done. And he said as much. Whether they move Hallander or they move the first or they keep both, this restocks the cupboard, which is looking a little bare. This gets them two picks after the Patrick Marleau trade pick, which is good. And essentially, you're trading Kasperi Kapanen and Patrick Marleau and their cap hits for two spaces down in the draft, which isn't bad. Not bad. This is a big win for Kyle Dubas. And, there's a couple – I want to address Kasperi Kapanen in a second here. But first, we've been tough on, and I think rightfully so, Kyle Dubas for the last couple weeks.
He's not a golden boy. He's not immune.
No, especially out of that press conference, which was we just couldn't believe it. But boy, does he make great trades, even if they don't always work out. He's very good at that. And this was a very, very astute trade. It solves a lot of problems for the Leafs. I don't want to freak Penguins fans out, but Kasperi Kapanen was given the opportunity to play meaningful minutes with Austin Matthews for 20, 30 game stretches, meaningful minutes with John Tavares and Mitch Marner for 20, 30 game stretches. And by the way, it's Matthews and Nylander, and then Marner and Tavares, and a mixture of all those four guys.
Matthews, Kapanen, Janssen.
Yeah. At that point, he was still unable to perform in a top six role. Doesn't mean he can't, because we think he can.
He scored 20 goals.
Yeah, sure.
20 goals.
But he's been an extremely great player and then an extremely frustrating player. And with him, it was sort of, as I said at the end of the offseason, like you act like a big guy, act like it on the ice. The social media and all that stuff. He was suspended for a game this year because he slept in. From what I've heard, there may be some maturity issues there. We've all been in our early 20s once and done stupid shit. I get it. But the player that the Leafs needed him to be, he could not be. And frankly, now they just don't have the money to afford a guy like that. And I think there's more coming, and we'll get to that in just a second. The question I have, and the thing that I am surprised most about is, what's next? What is next for the Leafs? And the first guy's name that James Myrtle mentions is Frederick Andersen. There has been a lot of talk. Chris Johnston, Elliot Friedman's mentioned it. James has mentioned it. Jonas Siegel's mentioned it. The guys that know this team, that really know this team, and Fried just knows every team. The people that follow this team with a microscope and a microphone seem to think that they're not married to Freddie Andersen playing out his last last year in Toronto. And the first question, Steve, I have for you on this one is why? Why would the Leafs, Freddie's brought them to the playoffs 4 years in a row, why would the Leafs look at him other than his contract and say, we're not convinced?
Well, let me at first say, for everyone who's like, oh, the media and just drumming up names, no, this is a thing. With Frederick Andersen, I do believe it's been looked at. Now, what have we talked about for a long time? The guy He's got 1 year left. He's going to be on the wrong side of 30. They're not going to be able to afford him. And to his credit, Frederick Andersen has played himself into a contract that the Leafs won't be able to afford. You know, we talk about his history in elimination games and game sevens, and I would chalk a lot of that up to his team in front of him.
I would too.
And the Leafs have not been a very good defensive team in front of Frederick Andersen for basically his whole tenure with the team. He's been great. He's been great behind a defense that hasn't been. There have been stretches, sure. Carey Price has had awful stretches, and everyone's like, he'll get out of it, he'll get out of it, he'll get out of it. He got the benefit of the doubt. Freddie Andersen, despite always showing that he would get out of it, never seemed to get the same benefit of the doubt. He's a great goaltender. The Leafs aren't going to be able to afford him. Why not trade the guy and see if you can get some value for him? Why not? Now, here's another reason why you might want to look at trading a guy like Frederick Andersen, and potentially sooner rather than later. You know who's a UFA coming up?
Who?
Braden Holtby. You know who's a UFA coming up?
Who?
Corey Crawford. You know who's a UFA coming up?
Who?
Robin Lehner. You know who's a UFA coming up? Matt Murray. You know who's a UFA coming up? Or no, I don't know if all these
He's
are
an
UFAs.
RFA.
Sorry. You know who needs a new contract? Braden Holtby, Corey Crawford, Robin Lehner, Matt Murray, Jakob Markstrom. There's a name. Anton Hudobin. That is a rising name. And there are – I'm looking at the –
Markstrom would be really nice.
I'm looking at the goalie market.
You.
I'm looking at the goalie market. There's a crazy amount of names. Like, I don't know if Craig Anderson's going to get scooped up. Jimmy Howard, I don't know. Thomas Greiss, Cam Talbot. Mike Condon's not. Brian Elliott. Mike Smith is, we know people love him for some reason.
Oilers are going to bring him back.
Might get scooped up in a lesser role. Alexander Georgiev. Malcolm Subban has proved himself to be pretty decent this season. Anton Forsberg, now I'm getting deeper into depth. But basically, this is a very goalie-rich summer. You trade Frederick Andersen now, you give a team security, right? You give a team a guaranteed goalie this season and a guaranteed good one, and you give them an entire year to re-sign him. You could probably get a lot. And, what are we supposed to do next season? Well, that's a great question, and let me tell you, it's Kyle Dubas' problem. But are you going to be able to resign this guy? Are you potentially leaving yourself with the possibility of being naked at the end of next season with no starting goaltender? Could be a bad situation.
Can't do that.
Bad situation.
The Toronto Maple Leafs also, I assume Dubas looks at it this way. They haven't earned the right to have a year of Frederick Andersen on an expiring deal. Yeah. Like, if the team was really good, if they were a Stanley Cup final team, if they had won already, if they were pushing for even if they made the second round. If they had made the second round, maybe you reward them. You risk half a season to the trade deadline, maybe with Frederick Andersen on that deal, and you see how it goes. But if you look at the roster and you look at how they've played, they haven't earned that at all. He, as a general manager, he needs to be able to maximize his assets to build a better team so that they can get to that point where they'd earn a guy who's clearly played well but can't really fit on a long-term deal. Then you reward the team, but they haven't earned that.
And boys, I had the wrong filter on. Mackenzie Blackwood needs a new deal. Tristan Jarry needs a new deal. This is a really goalie-rich free agency. And my question is, how many of those guys can you confidently say you can get in their prime years for $5 million or less?
You only need one.
You only need one. Freddie makes $5 million. He's got a good deal.
Yep.
He's got a – you know what? Of the deals Lou signed, of the long-term deals he signed –
that's the best one.
I was so worried.
Morgan Riley.
Morgan Riley's the best.
Morgan Riley.
Morgan Riley.
And Nas, they fucked
Nas
that
was
up.
good.
Anyway, but man, it's a goalie-rich market. If you can give Freddie to a team, and then maybe that team can then go out and make some more deals. There's more incentive there. There's a reason the trade deadline is getting more and more boring every year, and it's not just the salary cap. It's
mostly though.
Mostly. It's not just the salary cap. It's people want security. People want the opportunity to, now that I've figured out this chess piece, now I can do this and that and that and that.
I wonder, and I'm just floating this one to you guys. Would you give Pittsburgh their first rounder back in exchange for the rights to Matt Murray? Because I think anytime you have the opportunity to add a 2-time Stanley Cup goaltender who's 26, you might want to take a swing at that.
I don't know.
And he has not played well lately, meaning that he can't be. I mean, maybe it's a short-term deal, but maybe that's all you need.
I think Penguins fans laugh and laugh and laugh at that deal. It's, I was thinking it could be, I wouldn't be shocked to see a draft floor deal this year, not necessarily for the Leafs, but for other teams, even though I guess there won't be a draft floor. But you know what I mean? Because it's not every year that there's supposed to be a goalie in the first round. And not just like sometimes goalies find their way to 25-ish, the late rounds. Askarov, that guy's going to screw up this whole draft. It depends what you want, because there's some really good players available. But if you want a goalie, everyone seems to think that's who Carolina is going to take with the Leafs pick that they got there, the 13th.
And is he that good?
But what if it's 15 and he falls to the Leafs? Would you rather have Matt Murray or that guy?
I don't know. What would I rather have?
Boy, Matt Murray's. It's a terrifying deal. It's a terrifying deal because that guy has been very not good.
I think somebody bets on 26-year-old Matt Murray for long term. I don't see how he goes to the Leaf for anything. It goes to any team for anything under 6 years.
Well, and you know 26. Who's had success? You know who's had success with Matt Murray? Kyle Dubas.
Right. Were they
Sault Ste. Marie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sault Ste. Marie. That's when we saw this deal, everyone was like, "Oh, it's Jared McCann for sure," because it's Sault Ste. Marie guy.
Yeah. Now, with that, if Markstrom does hit the open market, and by the way, I would just be shocked. I would be shocked. That's a guy.
They'd be crazy.
Yeah, they'd be nuts. But if he did, that's going to be a big contract. The way he's played. And if he doesn't re-sign with the Canucks, does that completely screw up everything they've built?
See, they might have to – teams are going to have to make harder decisions than they've ever had to make because of the climate that we're in. And we're seeing a team like Pittsburgh pulling the chute that many months early going, we're not going to be a cap team. If you're the Vancouver Canucks ownership and you're like – guys, you've been talking about how good Demko and DiPietro are for all this time. They're going to cost me less than $2 million combined. Markstrom's going to cost me $8 million. Sorry, what? I thought these guys were good. You know what I mean? That's having those prospects in the wings and giving a long-term contract to Jakob Markstrom is going to be an extraordinarily tough sell. Even if you say we could sign Markstrom and trade those guys for value, they get rid of their goalie prospects. They do their Rask for Raycroft trade. I'm kidding. But they trade those 2 goalie prospects for value.
How much value are you going to get out of guys who are unproven? I mean, that's not –
let's say you get good value. You're still giving Markstrom $7-8 million. I also wonder – so free agents are boned this year anyway because of just the situation everybody's in. I also wonder if goalies around the league were secretly looking at Bobrovsky every single game and going, Jesus, dude, make a save.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude, make a save. Not because their agents are probably like, oh, no, this is good because here he is doing crap. My client's way better. I'm going to get my client as much money as Sergei Bobrovsky at very least. No, that didn't necessarily work with Jeff Finger, did it? All people did around the league was go, oh, that was a mistake. And I think that's what people are going to do with Sergei Bobrovsky. They're going to look at his performance. They're going to look at that deal and go, that was a mistake. You shouldn't give goalies that big deal.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, and it's a buyer's market, right? Like we just said, because of all those names that are available at the moment. It's a very
interesting.
Let's move on. Time to be a goalie.
I want to move on to the next person on the Myrtle list here of potential trade targets for the Leafs. Kerfoot, Alexander Kerfoot. Chances I said Kerfoot is only due another $8 million in cash for the final 3 years of his contracts, which will make him easier to deal. He can stay as a winger if the Leafs don't get offers that they like, but there are some questions about his ability to drive play at center. A guy like Hallander, if he's able to step in a year and a half, that makes it a little bit easier. If he was able to step in now, like Nick Robertson probably will on the wing, that makes things very easy. I wonder with Kerfoot, there is some value there. That's a guy, especially, he played well. He did. He played really, really well.
I like him.
And I like him too. And I like him enough that I feel like he's a good piece for the Leafs, but I also don't like him enough that I'm married to him. And Kyle Dubas apparently is feeling very not nostalgic, which is why Freddie Andersen, noted best friend of Austin Matthews, could potentially be on the block, and nobody cares. It's sort of like, I don't care how my star player feels about this. My star player is a part of the core. Freddie Andersen's contract's coming to an end. We need to win a playoff series. So we're going to do what we have to do.
Should he be nostalgic after that?
I don't think so. So Kerfoot, I wonder, came in, played well, took a while to adjust. I think Mike Babcock didn't help that. And then Keith comes in, he does a good job. But I think, what do you do with Alexander Kerfoot? Do you keep him, or do you go and look for value? And what kind of value does he bring? Like, Andreas Janssen is on that list later on, and that would be a sell low candidate, I would think. Like, that's a guy I feel like the Oilers would really could really benefit from having.
A lot of teams could.
What's that?
A lot of teams could. He's not
Sure.
a bad player.
He is. He just had a knee injury. That's the problem.
Fans of any other teams listening to this show, and Leaf fans too, we've been talking about the same players over and over again. Kapanen, Janssen, Kerfoot. They're all good at hockey. They're all really good players. They'll make your team better.
Yep.
Most NHL players are good at hockey.
They're
Weird.
Even by NHL standards, though, Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Janssen's a good player.
Good.
Yeah. Janssen's
Okay.
a good player. Kerfoot's a good player. Kapanen's a good player. It's not about get them off this team because they suck. It's can the Leafs afford them? And with all that money that the Leafs have invested up front, they couldn't afford to have like a $10 or $11 million third line, which is what they had with Kerfoot, Kapanen, and Janssen. They can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
It also wasn't good enough.
No, it wasn't. It
That
wasn't.
too.
They didn't win. They couldn't make the playoffs. It needs some sort of shakeup. So there's on top of, hey, they're going to be saving all this money by dumping these guys and trading them and saving all the salary. And it's also, there needs to be new blood in here because it wasn't good enough to score enough goals to beat Columbus.
And you've got 3 years of cost-controlled Nick Robertson, who's clearly good enough to play.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he stays up with the team the entire time, but you're not going to send him back because then you have to go back to the O, doesn't he? He's 19. He'd be 19.
I believe so.
Yeah. So, like, at this point, it's sort of like have him there. He doesn't have to play every night, but you got to build this guy's confidence and build this guy's career because of that stupid OHL rule. Now, when it comes to a guy like Pierre Engvall, that signing, that 2-year extension, seems like a bit of a bite now. You know, we could not have planned for a global pandemic, but the second he signed for 2 years at $1.25 million, as much as it doesn't sound like much, that's a lot for a centerman on the fourth line for the Leafs.
You know, he actually sold me, I think.
Did he?
During-
Now, he's
during
in
these
Myrtle's article,
playoffs?
but I'm throwing that out there.
So he had 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 points in 48 games, which in itself isn't very good. It's even worse when you look at the fact that he was on like a 40-point pace over a full season and then shut it off. Like the puck stopped going in except for one time when he scored against David Ayres. And by the way, his goal is the one that gave David Ayres the win. So You're welcome. You're welcome. I would have texted Pierre after the game. You know he's got his number. Thanks, man. But with Pierre Engvall, I agree with you, Adam. 1 point whatever before the pandemic, whatever. We know he's good. He's young. He's tall. He's fast. He can kill penalties. Yeah, I'll pay 1.25 for that. I'll pay 1.25 for that. With the pandemic, I'm like, I will not pay a quarter for that. Now, at center, I'll consider it. Is he any good? And the playoffs happened. I got to imagine the Leafs organization came away with the conclusion that, yeah, he is. What did they talk about every broadcast? That fourth line. That fourth line. God love that fourth line. Love what that fourth line is doing. Fourth line. And Kyle Clifford had a couple big hits. I thought Spezza struggled at times, but at very least he fought. And I would still like to see him back for the right price. Engvall at center really surprised me. Really surprised me. And if they can develop that guy at center, he's worth that money.
Andreas Jansson's another name that's come up. And I think with Andreas Jansson, if you are going to move him, and I do think it, in a lot of ways, it does make sense to. The win isn't what you bring back. The win is the cap space that you get. And, you know, obviously, I believe he's got one of those front-loaded deals as well. I think that's all the Leafs have done is just
let me look. Yes, correct. So
if the Leafs clear Janssen, Engvall, Kerfoot, and Andersen, that'll clear something like $17 million off the books.
So he made $5 million in actual money this year. So for the rest of his deal, it's 5 plus 3.6, $8.6 million left on his deal, but 3.4 against the cap, which is quick maths over 10. So again, it's one of those value things. Like the Leafs are all of a sudden one of those teams where I don't really want to pay anyone any money. Fake cap space sort of deals. Like that's all they got. That's all they got. And like with Kapanen, you know, we kept saying, oh, he scored 20 goals. Well, I mean, he scored 20 goals. Janssen scored 20 goals too.
Yeah, he did.
Even in a bad season, which he had this year, he didn't play well, but he was also coming off an injury, still had 21 points in 43 games. So he's at like half a point a game. And with those 8 goals that he had in those 43 games, he wouldn't have been far off from that 20-goal pace.
Yep. Chances are if he'd gotten hot, he would have found it.
He's played a little bit of power play. He's played a little bit of penalty kill. He's still a diverse player, a versatile player to have in your lineup.
So here's the thing. If they clear three or four of those or whatever of those guys, if they do clear them out, the space is going to be enormous for them.
It comes near 17 million, I think. 17
and
or 18
that would be total
million-ish.
or just 17 from those guys?
From those guys.
So that on top of whatever they had, which wasn't much. So first off, yes, they can re-sign Cody Ceci. Yes, they can. Secondly, it does, you know, people want to shoot for the moon for Petrangelo, and I understand why. Alex Petrangelo, even Fried said it on the broadcast last night, probably going to be a St. Louis Blue. And if you're Doug Armstrong, you don't care about 3 years from now. You care about the next 2. The next 2 years, and they actually mentioned today, it was crazy. St. Louis Blues are the first team to admit that a lot, like 20% of their players had COVID and how badly it affected them. And that honesty was great.
That was the big one. It wasn't just, a bunch of our guys had it. It affected them. Remember what a big storyline it was heading into a couple playoffs ago that both Hainsey and Zaitsev had the flu?
Yep.
They never recovered from it.
Yep.
They never look like they recovered from it. Next season comes around, you're like, oh, okay, they're better. Because they lost a ton of weight. Like, people got to start listening when people describe the symptoms of this thing. Not everyone gets away with it, you know, similar to how Austin Matthews did. where it sounds like he was largely asymptomatic and he had no lingering symptoms. Some people can't taste for weeks or even months.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a cough that they can't shake for weeks or even months. There's been rumors, or not rumors. I've read people have what could be potentially, permanent lung damage from this shit.
So,
and imagine it comes out, some of those guys on the Blues end up having that, God forbid.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some people
let's not go there.
Some people die from it.
And there's that, Jesse.
Yeah.
Well, I was going
dangerous.
Forward with the assumption none of the Blues have died.
Right.
Yes,
we don't
I
know.
Like, you don't need to
we
say
can't confirm that.
Right.
Fair.
Doug Armstrong
Adam,
said about 20% of their roster had COVID.
Right. So my point in saying that is, if you're Doug Armstrong, the team is largely intact. You've got most of the Stanley Cup winning team there. The Justin Falk deal was a real head scratcher for me. I didn't get why he did that. But like they gave Marco Scandella an extension at a higher rate and stuff. I was having this conversation with somebody on Twitter because they called me out, rightly so, and saying, listen, there's a bunch of extensions that kick in with the Blues this year. Petrangelo's money has already been spoken for. And they are right. And what I would say to that is move the guys then. Move Scandella, move Falk, move somebody else. Petrangelo's the guy you hold on to. Because this Stanley Cup roster, these guys won a cup a year ago. And they are very good. And until COVID hit, they were looking great. So if you have that opportunity to keep that group together with its leader, the best defenseman probably in the National Hockey League right now.
Certainly one of them.
Then you move the other pieces. You move out $5 million Tyler Bozak. You move out $3 million Marco Scandella, and Petrangelo's worth it. And you find something else. You move those guys, you find a piece back. Maybe it's not as good up front, but whatever. You've got some pretty good centers up there anyway. You'll survive. It's, to me, Alex Petrangelo not being on the Blues just doesn't make sense. So Leaf fans, I think what we need to do is have some of the B-class free agents. Chris Tanev's going to be up. That's one guy. I mean, Steve, do you have the list there of free agents for defensemen? And there's some big names.
I can bring them up, and I'm just looking, and I can kind of see.
Oh,
and there's
Adam, you're frozen again. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So there are lots of UFAs available. Mike Hoffman is the top scoring one, 59 points in 69 games. Taylor Hall, Alex Petrangelo, Torrey Krug. I thought he was an RFA. I'm surprised. Evgeny Dodonov, Tyler Toffoli, Tyson Barrie. You interested? Tyler Ennis, Carl Soderberg. When I saw the Oilers got Tyler Ennis, I definitely felt some kind of way. I was nostalgic for a guy who was on the lease for 5 seconds. Carl Soderberg, Kevin Shattenkirk, Derek Brassard.
Shad Daddy.
Shad Deuces. Vlad Nemestikov, Joe Thornton, Craig Smith, Michael Granlund, Jesper Fast, Eric Gustafsson. Hey, boys. Ilya Kovalchuk.
Like Eric Gustafsson.
Jason Spezza.
He's going to Montreal, man. He's going to Montreal.
Derek Grant, who just patted Nick Suzuki.
Hold on for a second.
What?
Hang on. Can you imagine a Leafs all former All-Star line of Spezza, Thornton, Kovalchuk?
Dude, it could happen. There's your second power play.
But there's a name in there. I like Eric Gustafsson a lot. I would sell the farm for Torrey Krug. I love Torrey Krug, and I hate him when he's on Boston. But Torrey Krug is one of my favorite defensemen. You know what he does?
What?
He transitions pucks. He moves it from one zone to another. The Leafs cannot do that unless their name is Morgan Riley and sometimes Muzzenhall. And
you know what? If Travis Dermott wants to say hello.
Travis Dermott needs to step up.
Whoa!
Okay, Travis Dermott needs to step up. Here. I think the world of Travis Dermott, but we need to see a step forward.
Let's stop messing around. Here are the free agents that are UFAs that Cap Friendly has listed as right D.
Okay.
Let's stop messing about. Alex Petrangelo, Tyson Barrie, Kevin Shattenkirk, Gustafsson, and Sami Vatanen are listed as LDRD.
Yeah.
Chris Tanev, TJ Brody, Justin Braun, Mark Pissick is listed as a RD right wing. God damn it. Radko Gudas,
That makes sense.
Andy Green, Adam, how horny are you?
He scored last game, so Islanders fans told me to suck it.
Well, put on your other horny pants because Ron Hainsey is also available. Travis Hamonic. Mike Green just retired today, so that doesn't count. Dylan DeMello is an interesting bargain bin option. Cody Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Michael Stone. Trevor Daly's on there. Zach Bogosian just had the best goal of his entire life yesterday.
The answer isn't there, Stephen. The answer is in a trade.
I think Travis Hamonic's part of the answer, and I think Eric Gustafson are part of the answer.
Kyle Dubas is going to finagle something in where he gets his D in a trade. I think it'll make so much. What?
Nothing.
It'll just make so much more sense in terms of, I think, the money. Because you're gonna have to make these trades anyways to get rid of these guys. Why not do it in one deal instead of bringing back contracts and then trying to fit in the free agent? Go after the guy you like, shop the contracts out that way.
I think that you can get your hands on a nice, crisp Eric Gustafson for $3.5 million. I think you can probably do this. I think Hamonic, what, 4?
Yeah, but are you like, oh, that's gonna push us over? That's gonna beat Tampa in the third round. That's going to beat Tampa in the third round. Eric Gustafson.
They need the marquee guy. But if I put Hamonic beside Riley, it's the best defense partner Morgan Riley's ever had. And he can play top-line minutes.
He's not wrong there.
I'll Travis Hamonic any day. And Eric Gustafson's a depth option. And then you grab like a Dylan. Everybody's making a little much. But I like Dubas, even though he was scratched by the Capitals going to the playoffs. I like what he brings. He's mean. The Leafs need someone mean. We need someone mean. He's mean. He doesn't give a shit. That's the guy you need. You need a defenseman like that, other than Jake Muzzin.
If I know Kyle Dubas, he is super horny for this draft, loves hoarding picks and having as many as he possibly can. Now, he has 3 6th-round picks and 2 7th,
really?
Which I know
Big
has
value.
him just shaking. You can't believe it, but he doesn't have a 3rd. I could see Dubas aggressively pursuing a similar deal to the one he just made for Kapanen. He's not going to get the same value, but it's going to be similar. We want a pick. We want a prospect, something like that. Try to get futures in order to free up that space that allows him to go be more aggressive in free agency.
And then allows you to make a trade at the trade deadline.
If I know his style, I'm just looking at the situation in front of you, the idea that guys aren't going to be able to demand as much, the idea that guys are going to be like, you know what, I want to play closer to home. It could potentially be very advantageous for Kyle Dubas and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Another thing that Kyle Dubas mentioned is that they may not want to be up against the cap when the season starts. They may want to leave a little bit of space, $2-3 million, because that turns into $10 million in potential room by the end of the season, which makes a lot of sense.
Aren't you sick of the dance every year?
Yeah, and the LTIR stuff really sucked the life out of them. So Nathan Horton and David Clarkson, you guys, those contracts finally expired.
The Leafs are brutal. Like, you know who else comes off the books? Robin Lehner, who you didn't even know was on the books.
Steve.
Phil Kessel's still on there.
Yes, he is.
2 more
Steve,
years,
guys, guess what? This show started several weeks before the Clarkson contract was signed, and we've now surpassed the David Clarkson deal. And I just want to say that that's a momentous achievement. We have 7 years. This is technically our 8th season that we're going to go into once this season's done. But yeah,
well done.
You're joking.
No.
Actually,
no. Technically speaking, we started the show the same year. Was it before?
We started like a month and a day before he was signed.
And the Bernier trade was made.
God.
That's how long, dude, that's how long this show's been on. 7 years. And we're going into our 8th season at the beginning of whatever next season is, which is amazing.
Bruh.
Yeah, long time.
Bruh.
Long temps.
Are we going to outlast the Chris Pronger contract?
No. No, here's the question. Guys, here's the goal. We are going to outlast the Mike Richards LA bullshit deal. 2030. We have to outlast Mike Richards and that bullshit LA deal. Okay, 2030. By 2031, we can call it quits. But 2030, we're going.
The Zach Parise and Ryan Suter contracts, it's just a Zoom call with 3 coffins. Like, we're long dead, but those contracts are still going.
Now, we do need to get on to the rest of the NHL here.
Why?
I know. It's crazy. So
Stupid.
let's talk about how the Canucks came back with a gigantic game of vengeance. You saw Tyler Toffoli return and score. Elias Pettersson being him. I mean, it's the Canucks are. I mean, nobody would be surprised if the Golden Knights win the Cup this year. Nobody.
No one.
But I mean, if they keep killing off goalies, if their head coach keeps assassinating goalies, then maybe they'll have an issue. But
impaling them.
But the Vancouver Canucks, are they not the most fun team to watch left in the playoffs?
Yep,
they're the most fun.
You nailed it.
And they are a legitimate. This could be the Golden Knights' toughest series. Really, it could be, because this is a team that doesn't know the other side. They don't know the negative. They don't know the downside. They don't know losing. They just know we're here and we're going to go. And that's scary.
It's interesting how the Golden Knights were portrayed after the first game, because Thomas Drance is doing some very interesting work.
Yeah, he's tweeting stuff that people are saying on the bench.
I love it. Like, he's taking advantage of the fact that, you can't, there's no people in the building, so you can hear everything that's being said, especially the stuff that's being screamed. Mm-hmm. Especially from guys who are standing still on the bench. And what did the Golden Knights do in game 1 besides win 5-0 and kick the Canucks up and down the ice? They talked mad shit. They talked shit the whole game. And you know when it's hard to talk that much shit? When you're getting killed 5-2 the next game. John Shannon had a great tweet, because Ryan Reeves, he's talking a bunch of shit. And what are you going to say to Ryan Reeves? He'll kill you. And then he was interviewed after the game, and he's like, well, game 1, we were rent-free. The Golden Knights were feeling themselves. And then John Shannon goes, one way to take Ryan Reeves out of the game, play with the lead. Because he played something like 1 shift in the second period after the Canucks got the lead.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves is not the guy that you want when you're coming from behind.
No, who knows? Maybe he was injured. Who knows?
I can work on my phrasing on that one.
Yeah, you sure could. I was willing to go right by it, but
Jesse didn't. But you know what? It's a really good point. It's a good point. It's a really, really good point. Now,
the Canucks just keep proving people wrong, man.
Now,
I like them.
Another team that keeps proving people wrong, and at this point, I don't think there's any reason to doubt them, is the Islanders, who might fuck around and win a cup here.
Seriously.
However, I do want to throw out there that the game is on right now. It's not out of the first, and the Flyers are up 3-0.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a dominating. I'm sort of watching it out of the corner of my eye. The Flyers are dominating. But game's not over. We don't know how that'll work. What is it about the Islanders that's impressed you, Steve?
Well, just the fact that they get the lead and they hold on to it forever and ever. Oh, man. If you look up and you don't know what the score is, mm-hmm. and you see it's 1-0 Islanders, there's no need to watch the rest of that game. They've won. You might get one. It's after they've gotten 2 or 3, though. They are going to hold on to that lead and kill it.
And Andy Green is going to score. Damn it.
He had the game of his life, Adam. That guy had a slap shot goal. He saved a goal.
Hey, Andy, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Listen, man, he was scratched in the first game, for goodness sakes.
I know.
Come on.
No, you were right.
If he's not playing if Johnny Boychuk's there, right?
He's in there because, bumps and bruises and whatnot. But the Islanders, I always say the worst teams, you don't know what they are. And the Islanders know exactly who they are. And that's the reason they're beating teams. They made easy work of the Capitals. Easy. Like the type of series win that could really screw up a team. Like really, the Caps, we were always talking about, the Leafs can't go making these crazy decisions based on one playoff series. The Caps fired Todd Reirden like that.
And he was an assistant coach for a long time.
Yeah, but why? He got outcoached. Easily got outcoached. Yeah. Who has a better team on paper? Come on now.
Oh, Caps.
Come on. Exactly. He got outcoached, man.
But he got outcoached for the second year in a row, too, right? I mean, it's not like they just gave him the one season and said, good luck, dude. Like, there was other issues there, too. And I think, I think Braden Holtby not being as dominant as he once was is tough as a head coach. Like, oftentimes, like, ask Todd Richards how he feels about how things went in Columbus. Mm-hmm. Right? As soon as he leaves, Bobrovsky starts to stop pucks, and wow. Now, what Torts has done with the team since has been amazing. But the reality is, your goalie sucks, you're screwed. But there were other issues with Reardon. And but yeah, you move on from that coach. It just didn't work.
It seems like in this playoffs, a theme has been that good coaching can win you a playoff series in hockey. Yeah, like I don't think it's been that
more accentuated than ever.
Yeah. I've never noticed that as much in the playoffs before, but this year it just seems like it was in Columbus's case, in the Islanders' case especially, even in Vancouver where it's kind of the young guys doing the thing, but Travis Green has been doing a fantastic job getting them this far. And it seems like coaching has more effect on the game right now. I don't know what it is, but
I think you're absolutely right, and the reason it's probably noticeable is because there's a lot of teams that get into the playoffs on a heater, on momentum, and on talent, and none of that happened. It was all like a dead stop, and it's the teams that played like teams, the well-coached ones, that are making it.
Of all the bad takes I've ever had, like heading into these playoffs, I was like, I think coaching is going to be less of a factor because they're not going to have time to get crisp.
It's the most
complete opposite.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Like,
yeah, bet you won't get DMs about that, though, will you?
I didn't, but it's Nick Robertson is a defenseman levels of bad. It is, man, it's the opposite. I wasn't wrong.
How
it's the opposite.
How would you have known?
Right?
I don't know.
Freaking pandemic, man. No one knows.
You technically don't know anything.
Steve, you were wrong about how did you not know the future? How?
I don't know. I was so wrong that I haven't gotten any DMs about it, and it still haunts me.
Well, because I think a lot of people probably would have agreed with you at the time. A series that's extremely surprising is the Avalanche getting killed.
No, someone here predicted that, so don't say it's surprising. But the guy
you predicted it last round. That's the
guy sitting here in the little box on your computer screen said exactly this would happen. So shut up.
Wow. A friend of mine watched Dallas for the first time last weekend in their first game against the Avalanche, and this person's not like a crazy hockey, like watches a lot of hockey and that sort of thing, but like wouldn't listen to this podcast crazy, right? Like we're all like insane hockey fans. And they said, they're like, I can't believe how well Dallas played. Like I've rarely seen a game where a team so completely beats the crap out of another. It was unbelievable. And you think about Dallas who struggled scoring goals all year. This is what they're meant for. And they've got guys that can score. Radulov, Sagan, Ben. But Niskanen, or not Niskanen. Oh my God, what did I say? Heiskanen.
They used to have Niskanen.
Yes, they did. They do have people that can, but the rest of their team is sort of like, we're going to lock you down. And Corey Perry might do something crazy. He's the old man. He's yelling at you, get off his front lawn. He might break your legs though.
Man, those signings that didn't look great during the regular season at all.
Perry.
Pavelski and Perry are contributing, and I picked way back in March potential playoff breakout player who, admittedly, I only saw 2 games of him this season. Both were against the Leafs, but he was a problem in both of them. Denis Gurianov has crazy wheels. That's going to be a really good player in the NHL.
Absolutely. And lastly, Boston and Tampa Bay. I just want to shout out Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. That setup for Shattenkirk's goal last night was outrageous. That move Braden Point pulled, oh my God. Not enough is said about how great Braden Point is.
I think it's the best. It's the best playoff hockey series, if that makes sense. Like if I were to introduce a new fan, like here, show me a game that describes everything that modern playoff hockey is, I'd show them this series. The old and new of the Boston Bruins completely complements the old and new of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I love watching these two play each other. It's great as a neutral fan to watch them tear each other
Dude,
apart.
it was my favorite thing. I had a couple Guinnesses last night, and I just sat on the couch and watched, and it was
great.
I was sitting here by myself in my apartment and just loving it.
Watching a Tampa-Boston game makes me mad. I've gotten mad a few times thinking about NHL players who, once they're eliminated, go, yeah, I don't watch hockey. You ought to. You really should. You might learn some stuff. No, seriously. Oh, really? The blogger boy's going to tell me I could learn a thing? Yes! What? It's your craft! Why wouldn't you work on your craft? The thing that you do, the thing you make millions of dollars, and all you got to do is sit there. You don't have to sit. You could ride an exercise bike. You could stand. You could do whatever the hell you want.
You could go to Toronto, Ontario.
You could watch it in a golden pool that's in your backyard because you're rich. Watch two of the best teams in the league play hockey in the middle of the summer. What's so hard about that? Anyone not playing hockey right now whose job is hockey player should be watching the Bruins play the Lightning.
Wow. How dare you tell people what to do and how to live their lives?
Yeah.
How dare.
I'll do it.
How many YouTubers do you watch in your free time?
Too many, actually.
Yeah, I think you do. You do such a good impression of the bad ones. By the way, there's a woman on TikTok that does a crazy good impression of all the influencers and stuff. And now influencers are in her messages going, hey, that's bullying and that's bullshit, whatever. And she does this. I forget her name, but she is so funny. I'm going to bring it to the next show. And she did this video last night where she's like, and she's got all these Amazon boxes in the back. She's like, guys, I have been holding off on doing an unboxing video forever. And today, I think we're just gonna have to tackle it, and it's just all this free shit. She's amazing. You got to check her out. She'll come up on your For You page. She gets like 500,000 likes, so it'll happen. Last thing that we need to do. This is certainly not least, but we saved it for last because it's big. It's the breaking news from today.
Just give me. I've been dying since the beginning of the. Give me it.
For immediate release, the National Hockey League has sanctioned the Arizona Coyotes for violating the NHL's combine testing policy during the 2019-2020 season, directing the forfeiture of the clubs. Any guesses, Steve? Based on what the Devils got, like, based it on some past stuff, like, what do you think?
I think it's going to be something slap in the wristy. What it reminds me of is the Leafs and the Jonas Frogren saga, which cost them a 4th-round pick.
The National Hockey League has sanctioned the Coyotes for violating the NHL's combine testing policy, directing the forfeiture of the club's 2nd-round pick in the 2020 NHL draft.
Ooh.
And
ooh,
1st-round pick in the 2021 draft.
Oh, no way. No way. Shut your front door. Shut your face. Shut up. No way.
In reaching his decision, the sanctions were announced by Commissioner Gary Bettman, who convened a hearing on the matter August 6th that included testimony from representatives of the Coyotes and the NHL. At the outset of the hearing, the club acknowledged that it had violated the policy by conducting physical testing on 2020 draft-eligible players prior to the combine. In reaching his decision, Commissioner Bettman outlined key reasons for the policy's prohibition on physical testing prior to the combine: to ensure competitive fairness among clubs with respect to evaluating and drafting prospects, and to avoid subjecting prospects to repeated and duplicative testing procedures.
Damn. Okay, so, geez, Cap Friendly doesn't miss a damn thing. They're so fast. So already, the Coyotes had the 49th overall pick this year.
Mm-hmm.
That now belongs to Calgary. Everyone moved up.
Yep.
Every single team moved up. LA moves up to 50th because they have the Canucks pick. The Senators moved up a pick because they got a pick from the Islanders. The Senators move up again because they got a pick from the Blue Jackets. The Hurricanes move up. The Senators move up again because they have a pick from the Stars. The Sens moved up a total of 3 picks from all these. Kings move up because of the Golden Knights. The Leafs move up somewhere in there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, the Leafs had a pick. Shoot. The Leafs pick was earlier than the Coyotes.
Steve, every team moves up. A pick has been removed from the draft.
I know. I was going through some of the more important. No, you know why I kept going? Because I was waiting for the Leafs to pop up, and they didn't. I didn't realize they were before.
Yeah, but everybody moves up one slot.
It was a well thought out plan.
It was a terribly thought out plan. But
he put on his Adidas and he walked that plan
all the way to Canadian Tire.
You don't shit on my shoes. I get that enough for my dog. You stop that.
I just gonna say there already is shit on your shoes, man.
There already is shit on my shoes. God damn it. Now, hey, listen. This is interesting. So what if the Coyotes do miss the playoffs next year?
Mm-hmm.
Do all the lottery teams now all of a sudden have better odds of winning the lottery?
No.
They don't have a pick?
Yeah, no, it's just removed. You know, it's still all the teams. Yeah, I guess, technically.
Right?
Yeah.
Because instead of a pool of, 15 teams, sorry. So 15 teams, it'd now be 14.
Yes.
So whatever your odds are, they all improve.
Yeah, your percentages go up a little bit. But it's still the same division of percentage between the teams, if that makes sense.
Yo, they got hammered a second and a first?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
I wonder, I would love to know, and he'll never do this interview, how much did John Shaken know about that? New member of the New Jersey Devils. How much part did he play in that? Because you have to think,
is that official?
Based on how organized, isn't he? I don't know if that's been announced yet.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard, he's going to the Devils. If he's not, whatever. But what part does John Shaken play in that? How much of that did he conduct, and how much of a shit show did he leave behind? If it was his idea, you can understand why the Coyotes were super pissed that he left when he did. As much as they didn't handle it the best, I can get it from their perspective. If now looking back in retrospect, they're like, hey, you did this and you're leaving us with this mess.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fight happened before this, right? The fight with Chayka was back in February when he wanted to talk to other teams.
But this investigation was ongoing at that time.
Not when the initial his ask to talk to other teams happened.
I think it was. I think this has been going on all season. Weren't they investigating this all year? Like, when did this investigation start?
It's been months. It's been months. I don't know about all season, but it's been a very long time. Now, the Coyotes are in
even
a world
if it was pre-fight, Jesse, he still would have been the general manager when they were doing this.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
they're in a world of hurt when it comes to these picks. So 2020, they already didn't have it. It doesn't say forfeited. So, okay, their draft page has not updated. Oh my God. So their draft page hasn't updated yet, I guess, on Cap Friendly. But if I'm reading this right, they already don't have their first from a trade on December 16th, 2019.
Taylor
Hall trade.
Yeah.
They're forfeiting their second rounder this year. Oh, it is updated on the site. And they don't have a third from a trade that they made on June 25th, whatever that was. So they don't have a pick until the fourth round this year, if I'm reading that right.
They are the Columbus Blue Jackets this year.
And then next year, they forfeited their first. And they have a second, but it's got an asterisk on it, conditional pick. Conditions, if Taylor Hall re-signs or the Coyotes win a playoff round, the 2021 third pick becomes a 2021 second round pick. So that's an interesting one. Did they win a playoff round?
No.
They won their qualifier.
That's not a playoff round. That's a qualifier.
Interesting. Oh my God. So they could potentially then not have a pick for the first 3 rounds this year or first 2 next.
That's the kind of thing that'll hurt you for a decade if you're not careful.
That'll really – well, and you're the Coyotes.
Yeah.
You need to draft really well, man. Mm-hmm. You got to draft really well because you don't have the financial might of other teams. Ooh, wow. That's tough. A second and a first,
Just to run some damn tests. Just to put players through a workout. What the hell were you thinking? No, honestly. What the hell were you thinking? You knew these rules, and all you're doing is trying to work out prospects? You don't even have a first this year. What the hell are you doing?
Is it possible John Chayka didn't know?
No.
Or it wasn't
It's not
his
possible
idea.
that John Chayka didn't know. It's
He's
impossible.
the GM. He's the GM.
Even if he didn't know, it's his responsibility. It is still on him, which means that he's not running an administration that communicates well with each other. And that is, it's still on the leader.
So now you're Steve Sullivan. You're going to go into your first draft. You're going to be sitting there for the first 4 rounds.
Steve Sullivan had to know that this was coming in some regard. I don't think this is a huge surprise. They must.
He was in the organization.
I just looked up when some of the initial reports came out because we heard about this for a while, and the oldest article I can find is from January 30th. So they've been investigating for a little bit now.
And they just completely emptied the cupboards in order to get Taylor Hall.
Castle.
And it really didn't pay off. So, okay, what they gave, it was a 2020 conditional first-round pick, a 2021 conditional third-round pick. But who are the other players? Oh, Nick Merkley, Nathan Schnarr, and Kevin Ball. So Nick Merkley, I believe, former first-rounder, but 30th overall. Kevin Ball, former second-round pick, 55th overall. Where's Schnarr? Schnarr was a former third-round pick. Man, that's bad news for the Coyotes. Holy shit, did they get hammered.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so they're in trouble.
Trouble. Big trouble. Yeah.
That's awful.
So that's it for us today. No press conference because the show's already long enough. However, what a crazy amount of information to come out. I want to thank the NHL for putting out this press release, especially for the Coyotes at 1:30 this afternoon, because that was half an hour before we recorded, and that was nice of you. Thank you, NHL. We appreciate that. We've been mean to you sometime, not wrongly, but we do appreciate you working with us on that one, and we know you did it for us. Thank you so much. We will see you guys Sunday.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.